It is time to leave. Now, I want to ask you guys, there's been a lot, obviously the debate about what's happening in Gaza has been fierce. This is a completely separate entity, but I think it also informs us about just how easy it is for some people to conceal anti-Jewish bias with anti-Israeli policy or anti-Israeli rhetoric. Because what's going on in Europe really has very little to do in many instances. When you're putting people's names and faces up on Facebook and saying, go get these people because they're Jews, we're seeing an ugliness and a side of things that should never exist.
A lot of this isn't new. You think back to 2012 when there was a shooting outside of a school in France where they shot, it was a Jewish school, and they shot 4 different people, a guy riding by on a motorcycle. But it's clearly escalated and is not bad, to your point, it is not bad to say that you disagree with what's happening in Israel and what's happening in Gaza and that you disagree with Israeli policy. It's a whole different thing to not actually be discussing policy and instead to be focusing on issues like this, on just being, these are Jewish people that we don't like, and they're using the conflict as an excuse to publicly voice their opinions that are clearly anti-Semitic.
Well, not only are we seeing a rise in anti-Semitism, but in Norway, what we're seeing today is supporters of ISIS donning flags of the Islamic State of Iraq and al-Sham, standing outside and calling death to the Jews. And I think that while I agree with you, Buck, that it's not completely connected, I do believe it is interwoven, and I don't think you can separate one from the other. The Gaza-Israeli crisis right now with what's going on in Europe.
It's obviously connected. What I'm saying is that people use criticism of what's going on in Gaza as some sort of a justification.
Like an excuse.
Yes, as some sort of justification then to take this, because it goes very quickly from criticism to beating up rabbis in the street to firebombing Jewish centers and all the rest. And these are people who are not affected by what's going on in Gaza.
Their criticism isn't about policy at all. They're not even really talking about it. They are focusing on very clearly, I don't like these people because they're Jewish. And they're just trying to put it under the guise of, oh, hey, and there's a conflict going on right now, so let's add it to this protest.
Yeah,
and that's all it is.
I think it's partly that, you know, there is masquerading your anti-Semitism, and you do see some of that in America occasionally. People say, well, no, I like Jews, I'm just not a Zionist, and you sort of wonder if you listen to them long enough quite where they're coming from. But I think in Europe, this is much more that this has acted as a catalyst to blow the lid off a problem that has been simmering for a long time. You know, it's not as if these people who are beating up Jews are thinking, oh, well, I have objections to the Israeli
because it happened in Gaza last week.
Right, it's just that for the first time there's been an excuse, they're not even hiding it, and sentiments that have been hidden because they've had to have been have come out.
No, this is, by the way,